Alright, now let me just have a little discussion on all the exam related queries. So what is the exam pattern and all? Let me start off with that first. So when you're looking at your level 1 exam, I've already told you that the exams are going to take place in May and November, third Saturday of May and November every year. You can give any of the levels in any of the terms. So every 6 months you can give any of the exams. The exam level 1 is going to be from 8 AM to 12 PM. It is going to be a 4-hour paper with 100 MCQs. There is no negative marking and there are 4 options for each MCQ. Generally the MCQs are going to be independent, so there is a 4-hour exam, 100 MCQs. So 4 hours you have about 2.4 minutes per question. Still there is a little bit of time constraint, so people find it difficult to complete the paper. We'll do all the tricks and all that, how to attempt the paper, how exactly to go about with the paper. I'll discuss everything in detail, so you don't have to worry about it. But I'm telling you that the time is not so much. So don't think that there is 100 MCQ in 4 hours, so I don't have any problem. You don't have to write anything. You have to fill up an OMR sheet where you need to circle all the options. There is no negative marking, so you have to obviously attempt all the questions. And there are 4 options per question. Normally each of the question is individual. At times the questions can be very bulky, as in there could be a half a page type question, or not a half a page but 7, 8, 10 line worth of question. It is possible that there may be a case study kind of a situation. Very rarely do we see that. Maybe a couple of those kind of questions come in where you have almost half or little more than half a page worth of data and you have 2 MCQs on that. It is possible that you might get a couple of questions like that, so you'll have like 4 questions of sort in this manner, but there is no guarantee as such. But there are a couple of questions at times which turn up with kind of a case study and 2 questions on the same. But otherwise it is going to be an individual question. Now the questions are going to be jumbled up, they are not going to be subject wise. The weightage of each of the subject is already decided. So you have 20 questions here, 30 and 30 questions from these 2 subjects. So the weightage is 20%, 20%, 30%, 30%, and since we have 100 MCQs, it's 20, 20, 30, 30 questions respectively. No negative marking, questions are jumbled up, so you don't know which chapter is, which question is coming from which subject. When you're looking at part 2, the exams takes place from 2 o'clock to 6 PM. That is why you can give both the levels together on the same day, because the timings are different. So part 2 exams takes place at 2 o'clock, from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock on the third Saturday of May and November. The breakup is going to be, again, there are 80 MCQs over here. So you get a little more time, you get almost 3 minutes per question for your part 2 exams. Your weightage is going to be 20 questions, 20 questions. I'm giving you the number of questions. So the weightage is kind of 25% over here. So 25% of 80, 20, 20, 20 questions over here. And the 20 questions is broken up into 12 and 8 questions in the last subject. So when you're looking at the book, you have 1 book on this, 1 book on this, 1 book on this, 1 book on this. So there are 4 books over here. In part 2 also there are 4 books. These 2 are combined into 1 book. So that is your weightage, right? Then when you're looking at the mix of theoretical and numerical questions, theoretical questions will be very conceptual. I'll give you exactly the order of practice and what to prioritize in practice and all those things I'll cover. I'll come to that a little later. But it is very important that theoretical questions, the non-numerical questions, are practiced very well because they tend to be even more confusing. You'll be able to eliminate 2 options or 2 options, but you'll not be able to find out the answer between 2. So it's not that easy. Don't think that it is a negative, there is no negative marking, 100 MCQs in 4 hours, so it's going to be such a cakewalk. It's not going to be that way. So it is going to be a little difficult. So you have to practice. So even the non-numerical questions are going to be quite tricky. You have significant non-numerical questions and numerical both. So it's going to be a mix. So don't expect that the paper is going to be a total number crunching related paper. So it's not going to be like that. There will be a fair share of theoretical questions too. When you're looking at the passing rates and all, approximately we've got about 40% or so pass rate for part 1 and 45-48% or so for part 2. I'm taking the lower gap. So 38-40% for part 1 and 45% or so for part 2. So that is your passing rates. Now there is no exact passing criteria that the institute gives us that if you answer these many correct questions you are passed. It's not like you have to get a 40 marks per subject or something. So the institute does not give it that way. We will get our results in the quartile form. So basically when you look at the result of your part 1 exam, they will give you the quartile. So quartile tells you whether you are in the bottom 25% students, whether you are in 25 to 50% bracket, Are you in 50 to 75% bracket, or are you in the top 25% performing students? So it will be providing you quartile 1, 2, 3, 4 for every subject. So for each subject, you know whether you are in the top 25, the next 25, the bottom 25, the middle 25, whatever. So quartile 1, 2, 3, 4 will be provided. Of course, we would try to get the best possible quartile in all the subjects. There is no guarantee as to how many questions you need to correctly answer. So the thumb rule that we generally use it, out of 100, we try to clear at least 70 questions correctly. So 70 correct questions can generally, work in your favor. But again, we do not want a situation wherein suppose I've answered all these 80 questions correctly, and if I get a 0 out over here, you'll be in the bottom part of the 4th quartile, you've not cleared this subject. So it is doubtful that you'll be clearing, because the institute does not give us exact criteria for passing in each subject. But in general, from my experience, I can tell you, you need to do decently well in all the subjects, and you need to try and be in the top 40% performing people in the globe, because 40% is a pass rate. So I need to be on the top 40% people, and I need to do relatively well. So the paper is difficult, it is difficult for everybody. So percentile is there, na? It's not the percentage, right? So in a difficult paper, maybe less number of questions could be okay. In an easier paper, more number of correct questions you need to do. But the questions are going to be conceptual. So that is how you get your results. So I've told you the passing criteria and the pass rates. With respect to timing, pattern, numerical, theoretical, time crunch, yeah. And with respect to your deferral of the exam, I've told you that for the May exam, you can defer by around 10th or 15th or April or so. You have to pay $100 and you can defer. But ideally, don't try to defer your exams and all. And for, again, November exam, it will be October 10th or 15th or so. So you can check that on the GARP Institute's website as to when you want to defer. Other than that, in case you fall ill or something, I get these kind of issues also. You can mail the institute your prescriptions and everything, and it is up to them whether they will defer your exam or not. But again, let's not get into the deferral part. Let's just hope that we are going to bang on, give the exam and crack it. So that's that. I'll get to the preparation part of it.